Welcome, 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 and hello to ZBrush Live Friday night. This is Kermako, and we are having an interesting. We're starting out with some new settings today. Hopefully, it will work. Sorry, last time we weren't able to. I'll just kind of leave this up here, do all the internet things like subscribe, and if you have questions, you can ask during the stream. And if not, you're not on the stream live, then you can leave the questions in the comments and we will answer them for you when we can. Okay, so we are trying out some new settings here, and I would really ask you to be patient with us as we do some troubleshooting. So now we're kind of trying a few things here so we don't have the same kind of troubles that we had last time. So if you guys can let me know if you can hear me, that would be great. And if you can see my screen. And then we can get started. And if we start to get into some trouble, then we will make some changes. Hopefully we can get some settings to accommodate for the new ISP that I have. Okay, so anybody who is on Twitch or on YouTube or on Facebook, if you can hear me and see me okay, and if the video is coming in nice and clear, then please do let me know, and then we can continue to work on our mech that we started last time in episode 1. Unfortunately, episode 2, last time we had problems, so this will be our episode 2. Okay, so I'm still waiting to hear back if you guys can hear and see me okay. I'm looking at speed test here, and okay, so A-OK on Facebook, that's great. How about on YouTube? Facebook is usually the last one to come in. So if anybody on Twitch and on, okay, a little lag buffering, okay. All right, let me try something else here. Let's see if I downgrade this a little bit, if we will get a better output. Right, so I'm going to bump this down to okay, and apply, and okay. All right, so let's see if things are going to be a little bit better. Okay, so YouTube, everything looks just fine, great. Thanks, Ramon. And hey, Charlie B. Williams, how's it going, man? Thanks for joining us. And okay. Hey, Charlie, can you guys hear me okay? Can you see my screen okay? I'm just going to move things around and see if it's coming across. Okay, good. So YouTube is fine. I guess with these settings, maybe we are good to go. So I'll just go ahead and let me do a few things here real quick. I'm going to set my document size to double. Yes. And let's do this real quick. Okay, so we get a little bit better looking screen. Okay, so I did some experiments with the balloon. If you guys don't remember what is going on, and I know it's been a while, I will catch you guys up. And I think Matt asked if this was something that... so let me see something here real quick. Let me load this file. And I can go ahead and, there we go. So we basically, in the first episode, I kind of went over it. So this is the image that you saw on the title screen when I started today. And this image was generated by artificial intelligence. However, it was generated by artificial intelligence and it was pointing at my work. So these are all images over here that you can see over on the right. All these images were generated by AI. All of them were generated by looking at my work and some text prompts. So we picked this one as the winner to go ahead and model, and that's what we're working on. So in the first episode, we basically, let me put this aside. In the first episode, what we did is we, I guess I'll put it on the screen. What we did is we made a block out and used my rig from the first season of streaming, my robot rig, which looks like this, right? Not the guy, but the thing that's behind him. I guess I can hide the guy right here. Okay, so we started with this and posed it to, you know, create these kind of spindly legs, and that's where we're going to go off from. I did do some more experimentation with the balloons and got some interesting results, and that's kind of what I'm going to start out with. I don't know if I'm going to use these ones. These ones are from a previous session, but I'm going to start out with a new balloon. Okay, so looks like things are going well. Great. No questions so far, so I'll go ahead and get started. Actually, before I do that, let me do this real quick thing. I should mention, I've been talking about it since the first season, about moving my website to a new location and changing the way it looks, so I've done that. So now if you go into kermako.com, you go to my new website. I've got some new work on here in addition to what was there. So I don't know if you guys have seen this. It actually loads while ZBrush is loading, but you can look at different categories, like you can look at just the mechs and character design and vehicle design and creature design, and each one of these has a lot of images on it. So like if you go to, let's say, this one right here, not only do you see that image, but if you keep scrolling down, there's a bunch of them on there. And also another thing I should mention is that I have my blog, and I imported all my blog entries, but also the latest one I have, I did a new blog entry, and these are other images, new images from the AI that have been generated. And as you can see, they're pretty amazing. And I'll probably be sculpting and modeling these things over time. Yeah, I mean, there's some great ideas here that the AI generated. So all I'll be doing is making some of these mechs, which are kind of a hybrid. I mean, this one right here, I'm definitely going to make. So yeah, take a look at these things. Again, it's kermako.com, kermako.com. And these images and plus all my other blog stuff is in here. And I've got blogs that date all the way back to, I don't know, a long time ago. So I invite you to look at those. And also, if you scroll to the bottom, here are links to all my socials. So Instagram, which is what I usually post the latest stuff on. So definitely go to Instagram to see and follow me if you want to see more of my recent stuff. For the last long while, I've just been posting a lot of the AI results, but I'm going to be going to posting some of my own work again soon. My AI results, I'm not focusing on it as much anymore, although it is still something I like doing. because it generates a lot of great reference for me that I can work from. And yeah, so check it out, kermaco.com, kermaco.com, my new website, and enjoy. All right, with that, okay, so Buffer City even on YT, on YouTube, okay. Yeah, I mean, you know, if people are getting, I don't know if the buffering is happening to everybody or if it's just happening to a few people. If it's buffering a lot, then just rewatch the replay of this, because last time it was buffering and it was having issues, but then what happened was it kind of resolved itself when the recording happened. So I'm just going to go ahead and just truck along, and we'll see at the end of this how it works. And if it doesn't work, then I probably will have to change my ISP, which means I will have to be down for a little while. Okay, so let me see here what questions you guys have. Okay, all right, so it seems like it's working for some people, so I'll just continue on. Okay, so to do the balloon, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over to here. And what I have here is I've done a few of these from before, so I'm going to get rid of those ones. I'm going to delete that one. And I'm going to delete this one as well. So here, what I have in this scene, and I'll go turn solo off, and I'll turn transparency off so you can see it. I've got a ball on the outside, and I've got another ball on the inside. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe if I turn polyframe off. Okay, yeah, you can kind of see it. So you can kind of see there's a border, and maybe ghost mode. Yeah, here we go. So you can see that there is a sphere on the inside and there's a sphere on the outside. And the spheres that I'm using are from my my IMM primitives kit. So they look like this. And you can either get my IMM, that's free, and you can get these spheres. And it's on Gumroad, so just look up Kermaco on Gumroad and you'll find me. There is a free one, and there's one that has a lot more IMM brushes in it that is for a nominal fee, so you can choose whichever one you want, but the free one does have this sphere. Okay, and in the sphere, so I've got two of them, one on the outside and one on the inside. And the reason why I have to is because the outside one is going to be the balloon, and the inside one is going to be the shape that it's going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and with the big one selected, the outside one and not the inside one. So this is the inside one right here. You can see right there. And so I'm selecting the outside one. And what I want to do here is I want to drop it down to a lower subdivision level. Okay, and then I'm going to mask this part right here. So the top part is masked. And then I'm going to go ahead and increase the subdivision levels back up. Okay. And here I'm going to do some changes to the dynamics menu. So the dynamics menu is up here. I've just docked it to the left. And what we're going to do here is we're going to not allow self collisions. Okay, firmness is 2 is good. Strength of 1 is okay. And we are going to have gravity, but not so much. Let's go ahead and start out with a small gravity of maybe 4. And then what we want to do is we want to create a collision volume, which is this inside part, and we want a border like so. This inflate here basically controls what the let me do this real quick. So this is going to so I'm putting in 0.2. This is what's going to control the how far from the inside part this simulation is going to happen. A resolution of 2048 is good for now. Everything is good. So we'll go ahead and run the simulation and see what we get. One thing I forgot is I'm going to turn floor collision off because I don't want it to flatten against the floor. Okay, so here we go. Another thing I'm going to do here to make things a little bit better is change the background color to a little bit lighter color. Maybe there. Here we go. Okay. All right, so now I'm just going to go ahead and run the simulation. And you can see here this bottom part's going to fall down. And so it's kind of, it's kind of okay. I'm going to actually go down in subdivision level just to make this a little bit faster. And let's run that simulation. And here you can see that it is coming down and stopping at this point, and this is kind of all it's going to do. So we want to do some extra things here. Maybe I'm going to highlight a little bit more of the top part, and I'm going to say, okay, let's allow this to expand. Not expand, but let's allow it, yeah, let's try allowing it to expand first. So it's just going to do what it was doing, but now it's going to get these nice ripples here. And that's kind of what I want. I want this to be kind of like a balloon where the air is kind of pushing it up on top, but on the bottom it's doing something like this. Okay. Yeah, I contacted my ISP, Get Something Tap. I did contact them. They did give me some instructions on what to do. But it is kind of a newer technology, so we're kind of going through some growing pains. I do appreciate your patience on this, and I do also appreciate you letting me know that this is happening. I'm going to try one more thing here. Maybe this will make it a little bit better. So just hold on if you can. If we go through and do all the different things that we can do, then at some point we will, determine if we can do it. So right now I'm going to try one other thing here. Let's see if this works. Okay, so let me know if this is any better. I'm just kind of changing a few settings on OBS to see if I can get better results. Okay, so we've got expand on, and now I'm going to turn contract on and run the simulation again. And that's going to bring it in a bit. And what I could also do is I could actually go in here and manually manipulate this as well. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the gizmo that is the simulation gizmo. So I think that is a transpose cloth right there. And I'm going to move it down to here. And so now it's basically going to do the operations on here. So this kind of looks more like what a balloon would do. So I can maybe go up one step in resolution here, and let's run the simulation again, see what we get. And I'm going to turn expand on again and run the simulation so we get those kind of wrinkles. Let's see. Maybe I should have done it here. Yep, here we go. Run. All right, that's perfect. So I'm going to turn polyframe off so I can kind of see what it looks like. And I'm also going to turn transparency off because I just want to see the outside part. And this is looking more and more like what a balloon would look like. But I want to even do some more work here by trying to oh, look at that. How cool is that? Okay. So now we got this result, and then I'm going to move this down just to kind of stretch out some of those jaggies. And then this part looks great. So now I'm going to try and stretch out these jaggies as well. And this is looking pretty good. And I'm just going to hit it a little bit with smooth. And this is exactly what I want from my balloon. So I'm going to clear that mask and just refine this to be more like that. Okay. All right, so how is the buffering going on now? If you guys can let me know, that would be awesome. Again, we're trying to do our best here just to get this to work well for you guys. And so I appreciate your patience, and hopefully it is getting better as time goes on. Okay, so I'm just going to shrink this down a bit more, just testing it out here and maybe increasing it a little bit as well, which introduced some interesting wrinkles up here, which I don't really want, but I kind of like these lines kind of coming down. That creates a better, okay, good. Thank you, get some tap, yeah. Thank you very much for saying that. I enjoy streaming as well. I enjoy using ZBrush, so every chance I get to use it is a good thing. All right, so here we go. I'm kind of at the point where I'm getting to the results that I like. Okay, so now I've got this balloon. I'm going to duplicate it. And with the second one, I'm going to introduce a few things here. So I'm going to go ahead and mask this part a little bit like that. And I'm going to go ahead and try, I guess I don't need to see these two anymore. I'm going to try and rotate this to see if I get anything interesting. I mean, that's kind of an interesting, you know, ice cream cone like thing. So if I was making an ice cream cone, let's say, this would be an interesting way of doing it, but that's kind of not what I want. I want to get it kind of to roll a little bit, but not too much. So I'm going to change the focal shift to 0 here. And let's see what happens there. So this is kind of more along the lines of what I want. So here all I'm doing is just moving it back and forth. And I'm getting these really kind of cool wrinkles. And then just move it down a bit. And yeah, look at that. That looks even more realistic. So I'm getting kind of close to the results that I want. This is just kind of a side experiment to see if it works better. And I kind of like this a little bit more. Okay, and now with that done, I'm going to run the simulation some more, and just let's mask this part right here again. And I'm just going to run the simulation without expand, just to get some more gravity on it. Okay, so it's going to straighten it out. It's going to straighten out a lot of the details that I had, but that's fine. And let's do some more, and then stop it. And then now I'm just going to use this to move it up, to get maybe these kinds of wrinkles. And right now all I'm doing is experimenting just to see what kind of wrinkles I can get, and if they're going to work for what I need. Right? So, because in the AI picture we can't really see, and what I should do is I should just load that and put it here in the background. So let me do that real quick. Texture, import, and let's go ahead and import that image. Maybe I did save it here. I hope I did. Yep. Okay, there it is. And let's load it up into here, and let's load it into Spotlight. And I'll just pop it over here so we kind of know. So these balloons kind of look like this part is pretty clear, but the bottom part we don't know. So we have a little bit of freedom to exercise our own creativity. A swirly part looks good, but I think of all of the different ones that I had, I think I like this look here the most. So I think this is what we're going to stick with. And I'm going to duplicate this. So I have 2 of them. Copy this one, and then let's go back to our mech and paste. All right, so now I'm going to replace these ones that I did in another experiment. So you can see here I kind of did some other experiments and got some really interesting results on this one. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to delete these ones. I don't need them, and I'm going to position this one as okay. So what happened was, I think it still is in this you know, dynamics mode. So it's going to, as I pull it, notice it's still going to kind of be attached to that sphere that's in there for some reason. And I don't think that sphere came along with it, but I think it's remembering it. So the way to fix that is I'm just going to turn collision volume off. And now I don't have that issue. But the issue I do have is that I changed my focal shift to 0. So I'm going to shift that back to 100. And this is something that a friend of mine mentioned the other day, where people are a little bit confused when they change the focal shift, that the kind of the dragging kind of shapes is happening. And that's probably one of the coolest things that ZBrush added, but I think people who don't realize what just got added are going to have some trouble with it. So here I'm just going to switch back to the regular transpose line and move this balloon over to here, like so. And there it is. So this kind of is going to be what the balloon looks like, and then I'm just going to mirror and weld it to the other side. Okay, that's right, it had multiple subdivision levels, no worries. I'll delete the lower and do it now. We're good. And let's turn symmetry on. so we can position these where we want them to be. So like let's say about there. Now the other thing here is that these look a little bit more oblong, which creates a really interesting look. So I'm going to try and do that here. And the way I'm going to do that is just mask the top part and then start pulling this down like so. That's looking good. Now probably I stretched out the polygons here, which is not what I wanted to do. So I'm going to use another capability here, and that is extender. And I'm going to extend these from about here. And I don't think the masking is going to matter. All right. Okay, good. Let's see. It looks like things are going well. Nobody's complaining about lag. So I think we might have solved this problem, which is great. So what I'm doing here is by using the extender, I'm doing the same thing I did before. But what I want to do is I want to have different levels here. So extender allows me to do that. So not only did I extend this, and I just want to make sure this is going to about here. That's good enough. And then adding levels is by, I think it's this one right here. No, which cone is it? I think it's either one of these cones. Maybe it's this one. Here we go. Yep. So I'm just going to add more loops going this way. And I think there's one that says crease or don't crease. We don't want to crease it. Is this it? Yeah, we don't want to crease it. Okay, so there we go. And now we've got that. And now I can run my simulation one more time. So I'm just going to mask this top part. And let's run that simulation just to kind of get this to be a little bit more like a balloon. And I'm getting exactly what I want here. That's good. Okay, so now let's accept that deformation. And let's resize this to be smaller. A little bit smaller, and I think that's going to kind of do it for us right here. Okay, so we've got our balloons. This is what they look like. And of course, I can always go in here and do a little bit of augmented sculpting. You can see here just in a few minutes with using the simulation, I've got some really kind of cool looking balloon action going. And while I'm at it, might as well start dropping some color on here just to see what it looks like. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick this yellow color here. I guess I need to be in this mode to do that. Yeah. Yep. So here I'm just going to pick this yellow. And let's go to the paintbrush. Oops, wrong brush. Paint. And let's just drop a little bit of yellow paint here. So that's kind of going to be the top of the balloon. And let me solo these out. So that's all I'm working on. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is pick this orange color. So again, I'm going to bring up this and drag from here, pick this middle orange color. And I'm basically just going off the colors that the AI picked, just so I kind of have a similar looking thing. And this is just a rough view. Again, I'm just visualizing what this is going to look like. And if it's going to work with what I've got. And then I'm going to do this one more time by going to the red color over here. And let's start painting this bottom part red. So starting to look like the Halloween candy colors. All right, but we'll kind of, you know, just use the colors that we picked from there, and then we can always make some edits to it and change it around. So it's kind of got middle, the orange part is, you know, the middle part is orange, and I'm just kind of painting over it just to get a little bit better gradation. Okay, so this is kind of looking pretty good compared to what we had before. So I think the balloons are looking good. I think I can probably give them a little bit more inflate. I'm going to do that manually. This is what's really great about ZBrush, is that, you know, simulation can get you a part of the way, and then you can always use your handy dandy sculpting brushes to get a little bit more excitement. And these are pretty symmetrical. I'll break symmetry in a while, but I think this is kind of looking good for what I wanted. I'm going to drop in subdivision levels. Oh, I don't have subdivision levels. That's right, I got rid of them, so no worries. I will add them back. by going in here and let's see if this works. First of all, under geometry, reconstruct, subdiv, and it is not working. No. Oh, that is not good. All right, well, we can always redynamesh it. I don't really need the polygroups, so I'm just going to group these all as one, and I'm just going to redynamesh this thing. I'm not dynamesh, I'm sorry, zero mesh it, and let's zero mesh it at the same number of polygons. Let's see how that fares. It's chugging along. Okay, it gave me this. I don't know if I'm very, I guess that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and undo that one more time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this other trick where I duplicate the object. Okay, there it is. And now I'm going to zero mesh it at half. I'm not keeping groups, so that's going to take care of the grouping. So give it a minute here. Okay, so that's kind of once. We'll go one more time at half, and that's just going to keep bringing down the resolution to something that's more manageable. One more time. So we have different subdivision levels. I think this is good. Maybe one more. Let's try one more. Nope. I think this was fine. Okay, so now that we have this, what I can do here is I'm just going to go and choose these two only. So I've got just these two shapes, and then what I'm going to do with the new ones that I made, I'm going to project them onto the one on the bottom. So that's over here under project all. Always yes. Okay, so that's a projection. Let's see what that looks like. So that's pretty good. And now I'll subdivide it once and then project again. Subdivide it once, project again, subdivide it once, project again. And now I have exactly what I had before, but I also have subdivision levels, which is a good thing. So I don't need that previous one. I can just move it to, do I have a builders folder yet? No, I will make one. All right, so new folder. Now that I have that, hide that folder, and let's move it all the way to the bottom. All right. Okay, so now I can go back. I think the balloons are pretty much done as far as shape is concerned. I can maybe just do a little bit of inflate and editing and kind of add some things to it. But they basically just look like they're plastic balloons that, or some sort of a, harsh material balloons that kind of pop up and then they lift the mech up into the sky. All right, so with that done, let's go ahead and turn these other parts on. And again, I don't really have a lot of parts here. I just basically use ZRemesher and my ZSphere rig just to get the shapes that I needed. So this is kind of what I have. Okay, so frame buffering still happens a lot, bro. Really miss you. Okay. Come back. Yeah, come back and watch the replay. It might be better. All right, so we got somebody from Chile. Is the lag happening to everybody? I'm curious to know, because I think I've done pretty much all the different things to get it to the point where we are at. Okay, so now let's do a little bit of work on this hull part. So here I'm just going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger and move it over to here like so. And again, I'm just, I don't have a lot of detail to go on here, but I do have some detail and some idea of what's there. Okay, so Zerchan, looks like you're getting no buffering, so that's awesome. So it just seems like it's just a few people that this is happening to, which is kind of unfortunate. Okay, so let me also do something else here. I don't need this to be this strong, so I'm going to drop its opacity a little bit. Okay, so maybe not. Maybe just leave it be. Okay, so all right, so now what we're going to do is just work on this hull part, and You can see here I basically have a pretty basic shape that is happening. It's kind of weird for me not to be centered. Maybe I will move this guy over to the make it smaller, and let's move it up here. How about that? I don't know if can I crop in here. I forget if I can crop. I don't think so, but this is fine. What I'll do is I'll crop this outside and bring it in next time, but for now I think it'll be fine. Okay, so this hull piece, I just have to create some interesting looking shapes for this. So I'm gonna assume scale wise that this is something that's going to house maybe 3 or 4 people sitting in it. So I kind of have to, think of it as the top part of a tank, or just, part of a kind of an armored vehicle. So that's kind of the logic I'm going by here. And if I go to dynamic subdiv on this, I get this soft model, and which looks a little bit more like what's over here, but maybe not so much. So let's go ahead and play around with this a little bit. With dynamic subdiv, and let's add one more smooth level, and let's add a Q grid of maybe 1, like so. And let's play around with the coverage. So we're going from something really polygonal to something kind of really, and this is kind of interesting. So I'm getting some different kind of ideas of what this would look like. But maybe not so much. Maybe something like this looks good. Kind of like this a little bit more. It's kind of an interesting look. So I'm going to play around with this and see if I can get something more like what I want. So here, it would help if I turn symmetry on. So here kind of I'm only playing with very few polygons and very few vertices, but I'm getting a very interesting shape from this. Okay, good, BR Hacker. That's great news. Yeah, I think, it's again, it's a newer technology. It's pretty amazing for what it can do. But I think they're going to have to go through some growing pains, but I know they want to make it work, so I'm pretty sure. After I called them and called their support line, they've got people looking into it, because I'm sure they want people to stream, live stream on their network. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. I think it's looking much better. It's got a little bit of a harsh angle here, which I want to break. So to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and insert an edge loop over here. And with this insertion of the edge loop, I actually want to move it around. So I'm going to choose multiple edge loops, and I'm going to choose a resolution of 1. And I'm going to choose actually interactive resolution and interactive elevation. So here I'm basically dropping in an edge loop, and then I'm also, maybe I don't want interactive resolution. I want a resolution of 1. But that's going to put it in the middle, isn't it? Let's see. Yep. Yeah, okay. I'm going to turn interactive resolution off. Why isn't it turning off? Come on. Specified resolution. How about 1? Yeah, that's going to put it in the middle, which is fine. I can always erase the one I don't want. But here, I'm not only dropping in an edge loop, but I'm also controlling that curvature. And I want it to be a little bit more curved than what I had before. I'm going to delete this edge loop. And this looks good. I'm kind of judging this angle over here, and it looks okay so far. But I'm going to go ahead and increase the... Actually, I'm going to try and turn this off and see if I can get what I want just by doing edge loops, which I should be able to. All right, so I'm going to go back to interactive resolution, drop 1 here. Let's go back to single loop. All right, so here I'm just trying to get, yeah, that's going to be the problem over here if I add an edge loop. So I have to really figure out the topology here of how to get what I want without getting that pinch. Well, maybe adding an edge loop here will do it. That helped. And let's see if this helps now. Nope, still doing the same thing. I think the problem is I don't have enough distance here. So I'm going to go ahead and select these guys. Oops. And move them. So transpose, where are you? Move these out a little bit. And let's see if we can angle them in a little bit. That looks good too. When I use ZModeler, I always use a pen. I only use a mouse when I have to click. Like a single click usually works much better with a mouse, but yeah. Other than that, I'm always using a tablet. I'm always using a pen. Yeah. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go back to move here, and I'm just trying to get some sort of an interesting fuselage shape to this. And again, I'm moving very few points to get this, and again, it's in dynamic subdiv. So I'm just going to get a really cool looking part over here. Looks like this needs to be a bit longer. I'm going to turn off symmetry, go to the center, and change this type of proportion. So I find this to be a very powerful way of generating shape. And I know there are tools similar to this in other programs with subdiv modeling, but I have found ZBrush to be really accommodating for this type of work. All right. It's almost like getting the benefits of NURBS modeling without dealing with all the headaches and being able to do operations pretty fast. Okay, so I don't have symmetry on, but now I do. Okay, and then the other thing I should do is maybe go to the move brush. Here we go, and just start playing around with this shape. I want to get a little bit more of a scoop over here. There we go. I know there's some questions coming in. I'll get to them in a minute. But in the meantime, let me kind of do this like so. Okay, good. So we've got this. It's looking great. And then I'm going to do this here and this here just to get kind of this front part looking good. And then I want to flatten this part out a bit. Okay, that's looking okay. So now I can start applying that QGrid again to see if I can get anything more interesting. I don't think that's adding much. So QGrid is out, but maybe I can introduce a flat subdivision, maybe one. Okay, and let me turn polyframe off to see what I'm getting as far as design is concerned. So I've got an interesting flow problem here where this line's flowing in but kind of bending around that way. So let me fix this thing real quick. Pardon me having to do this, but it won't take long. What I want to do is make this smaller so it doesn't take up the whole screen every time it pops up. Okay, I think I do that at every screen now. I should do it before. I should make a checklist. Okay, so I'm just going to choose the damn standard brush and try and add some continuity to that line so that, you know, it kind of flows this way. And again, the topology doesn't really matter. And then here, maybe see if I can create some sort of a break over here. And again, by the way, I'm doing this with, if I go down, this is the cage I'm working with. So I'm working again in a very low poly mode, which is much easier to control because you don't have so many points you're dealing with. Let's go back up. Okay, and just ease up some of these tension lines over here and see what we got. All right, so this is starting to look really good. This part over here, I don't know if I want it to be pointing this way. That's kind of an interesting thing. Nope, I want it to go the other way. So let me go to the move brush here. Again, moving very few points to get the type of look that I want. Looking good, looking good, looking good. Okay. All right. So now I think we are kind of getting to a point where this is looking good for a starting point. So here it's a good idea to just duplicate this thing and keep a copy of it in the builders folder just in case I need to go back to that state. I have that state. I don't have to save my undos. I just have a state that I like that I can come back to. All right, so let's go back to the other part. So that's looking good. So this part I think I've got looking good. Maybe give it a little bit more thickness. Here we go. All right. I think that'll do this part. So let's kind of start working on some of these other parts. So here I've got, what do I got? I've got these two arms. They're symmetrical. And what I can do here is I can split this up into parts. But before I do that, I just want to work on the gesture. So maybe these are some sort of arms. So maybe what happens with this balloon thing is it basically launches and then it picks up, it rescues or picks up certain things, and then the balloons apply. And then it lifts them out of that location that they're in. Maybe some sort of a rescue device or something like that. I think I might have done something here I didn't want to do. Let's see if I did. Are these merged together now? Let's see if they are. Oh man, they are merged together. All right, let's go back in time to when they weren't. They merged together. Oh, they're merged together the whole time. Oh no, that's fine. I'll just delete these guys, and I think I've got the balloon somewhere else. This looks good. Actually, this looks much better than what I had. I'm just going to use this. Copy, and let's bring it over to what we have, and paste. Shrink it down in size. Now this time around, when I do the mirror and weld, I want to make sure that they are not touching. So here, mirror and weld. That's right. All right, let's delete the lower. Okay. By the way, there is a way to mirror things if you don't have if you do have dynamic subdivisions. You can use Subtool Master to do it, but for now, I think this will, let's just do this for now. Oh, I lost my Polypaint too, didn't I? That's okay. It was easy enough to do. I can do it again. Another thing I want to try is, what if I do this to the balloons? Like, that would be an interesting kind of, like they just rise up this way, and maybe there's something that connects to the bottom of this. It doesn't look a lot like what I have in the image, but again, I have the freedom to change it if I want to. What if I do, let me try something here. Sorry, we're back on the balloons, but hey, oh, look at how cool that is. All right, so that's basically what that's doing is stretching it down, but with a focal shift of 1, and then I'm going to go back and do the same thing, but I don't want this top part, because this is kind of the shape the top part is going to have. It's just going to have this shape right here. So I've got that, and then I'm going to change my focal shift back to 0. And let's just move this down now. Oh yeah. Let's start from here. So cool. And let's keep doing that until we get what we want. What's this doing to the polygons, by the way? That's okay. I can zero mesh it later, but right now I'm just going to go for the shape. And this looks pretty much exactly what I would like, what I want. Okay. All right, so with that done, and I guess I could always hit it with smooth also to get some geometry down in these areas, and I think there's enough to go around. I don't think that's an issue. Let me see. Yeah, there's enough to go around. I'm just going to bring down those loops from up above and around. All right. Yep, liking it so far. Let's see, any questions? Wow, you guys are pretty quiet today. Earth Day quietness. Somebody said today's the 23rd, and I have 22nd on because that's what it is where I am. In Los Angeles, Pacific time, it is the 22nd today, so we're still in Earth Day. You, whoever is on the 23rd is on Earth Day +1. All right, so it kind of looks cool from the front too. All right, so we were back working with the arms, so let's go work with the arms. All right, so here, I guess there's one arm that is out this way, and then there's another one. It's kind of like, this is looking a little bit arachnid, but that's fine. Maybe there's an arm that's out this way. All right, let's let it do its quick save. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions, please ask. Well, we have a nice crowd of people. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you on the stream. Okay. So now we're just going to go out this way. You live in the future. That's great. Yeah. What's the future-most place on the world? That's an interesting question. That's a good thing to Google, right? Like, what's the place where it's the latest on the planet? I think Europe is ahead of us. Japan is ahead of us by 1 day. So what is the country? There's a good trivia for you guys, for you chat, is who can figure out what the place is that is the most in the future on planet Earth, based on our clock, based on Greenwich Mean Time. That clock. Okay. All right, so let's look at these arms over here. So we kind of think, maybe this thing walks on these 4 feet. So these are more like feet. And also notice that I still have my focal shift at 0. So I'm not getting a full rotation, but I'm getting something even more interesting, which I'm actually liking in this case, where it's moving it in a kind of a different way. Let me see what happens if I just move it the way it is. Actually, the way it is probably better for what I need right now. So here is another set of arms. All right, so Ghosts of Christmas Future. Wow, we have a Ghost of Christmas Future. Did you call yourself that because you watched my multi-stream? Just curious. Oh, 1 p.m. here in Australia on the 23rd. Okay. It's 5 a.m. here, so I could probably go to bed. Strawberry King, you probably could, but you'll miss out on all the fun. But if you are going to go to bed, have a good night, I guess. and hopefully you'll watch the stream offline. Okay, so here I'm just kind of trying to get a good angle for these arms over here. That looks good. And again, I could move these things individually, but here I'm just trying to get a decent gesture moving forward. So I'm assuming maybe this thing walks on these big hind legs, and all these are arms, so I'm going to have to move them in a position where they look more like arms. Anybody find the futuremost place yet? Nobody's found it yet? I've got a lazy chat. Ginger 3D. Okay, so yeah, Ginger, this is the place to do it. Ask your questions. Ginger 3D. All right. So you guys are lame. Nobody figured out what the most futuremost place is. So I'm going to have to do it myself. How about that? Let's see here. Ask Google, see if Google knows. What is the world clock? Time and date is what it referred me to. So Honolulu is the one that is the most back. And I guess San Juan? Oh, no, wait. Is this all yeah, let's see here. No, I don't think this is going to do it. Here we go. What country is furthest ahead? Come on, tell us. Okay, so here it is, folks. It is Kiribati is the name of the island, and the international line passes through those 3 islands, I guess. It's a set of 3 islands, and it is UTC plus 14. So that's where it is. Of course, they don't. Do they have a map of it? They don't have a map of it. Ugh, lame. Okay, so that's where it is. Samoa Island. Okay, so yeah, I guess I don't know where it is, but that's kind of where the people are most in the future. I unfortunately am kind of in the past, I guess. So sad. Okay, I'm gonna hide these balloons because I don't want to be touching them. They're in the background, and so I can rotate. Okay, here we go. All right, so I'm going to have to figure out all of these links and everything later on, but right now I'm just kind of going for some sort of a gesture that's going to look okay. And I've got a lot going into that middle part, so now it's going to look more like this. It's starting to look more and more very insect-like, which is fine. But I'm liking what I'm seeing, for sure. All right. All right, I'm just going to make my reference a little bit bigger here, bring it over. I mean, the reference doesn't really have those kind of things that I have here. It looks like it's just got lanky stuff going downwards. So that's fine. I guess I could do that with the legs more. No symmetry on the legs. Let's add symmetry and yeah, something like this. Okay, good. So the balloons are just lifting this thing up. I just want to see where they are in comparison to the balloon. Okay, there we go. And once it puts down, it's just going to walk on these legs, and these are just going to either fold up or something else is going to happen with them. And I'm not really going to care about this because this is just going to be an image. So I just want to recreate this AI image with actual geometry. Okay, so I think that is good. Yeah, Paul does a lot of good hard surface stuff. The old man, you're right. And let's see, who was it that said, okay, and Ginger 3D, you can, yeah, definitely watch Paul's videos. They're great. Watch mine too. I do a lot of hard surface stuff. And I think there's a couple other streamers that do hard surface stuff too. So there is a wealth of stuff you can watch. Oh, another one you guys should watch if you haven't is Marco Plouffe. Marco Plouffe has some amazing stuff that he does on Twitch. And he also does, he puts the videos on YouTube as well. He's not on ZBrush Live. He's got his own thing, but it is fun to watch. Definitely check that out too. But I would say Marco's stuff is a little bit more advanced. So if you're just starting out, then you might want to definitely watch Paul's stuff because he does some really kind of cool projects, and then he also does a lot of explaining of the stuff. He works for Pixelogic, or I should say, sorry, Maxon. So he definitely knows everything there is to know about ZBrush. I think if there was ever a ZBrush test of knowledge, Paul would win it by a landslide. Okay. So here we go. We're just kind of now, again, these are also very low poly, by the way. Like they're just basically cubes with one subdivision level. And so I'm just kind of getting an approximate size of what these are going to look like and what they're going to do. All right, I'm going to hide the balloons again. Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to the new season of Love, Death and Robots too, and hopefully Netflix will still be in business when it comes out. I'm kidding, I'm sure it will be. Yeah, that's one of the series they have that's a big, you know, they have a few things, Netflix does, that are pretty strong. So I know they're kind of focusing on some other, like I think they need to really focus on some of the really amazing shows that they have, and they have some really good ones. Love, Death and Robots is one of them. Black Mirror is another one, and there hasn't been a new season of Black Mirror for a while, and I'm really pissed off about that because that is a killer show. All right, we got some emojis. Okay. I will at some point maybe understand the hieroglyphics that you're posting, but right now I don't know what they are. They could very well be obscene, or they could be nice. I'm going to go with nice just because that's the world I want to imagine. Okay. All right, this is starting to come together pretty nicely here. I'm kind of looking at it from two different angles to get these to work. And I might not need all these parts, and I will replace all these parts with other parts as time goes on. Maybe some kit bash parts, maybe not. So just kind of putting things together here. This part right here is the bottom of the mech, and it doesn't really have a lot of geometry. Again, this is very simple, and I don't need, again, I don't know if I need all these parts, but I'm going to go ahead and here, let me close this window so it's not buffering stuff in. Okay. And how's the bandwidth, by the way? Are people still getting lag, or are we golden? If we're golden, let me know, and then I'll start upping some of the other capabilities to see if it gets back to normal. Not back to normal, but to better streaming setting. So here I'm going to just do one real quick. I'm going to go ahead and change this back up to, let's go for 1800. Enter. Okay, so you guys let me know if that made a difference in the better or worse. What we're going to do is just fine-tune this so we get the best that we can, given the limitations of this ISP. And then as they get better, we can get things back to the way they were. But boy, oh boy, does it feel good not to be with my older ISP, who are a bunch of jerks. Okay. The other thing that's miraculous is that this ISP, this connection, is kind of more of what the future is going to be like. So I'm kind of a little bit ahead of the curve. So we'll have to go through some growing pains, but happy to be part of what is making that happen. Okay, it's buffering for me every now and then, but it's not that bad. Okay, good. All right, then I'll just, let me know if things got worse or better. I just made a change. So, okay, Arnaud, you're saying that YouTube works great. Thank you very much for letting me know. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate the feedback. All right, so here, this is this middle part right here. And I'm trying to, I'm going to turn transparency on and ghost on and try to get this part to work. So this is the thing that all the legs are going to be coming out of. And the way it's looking needs to be more like this. Okay. That's good. Maybe I don't need it to go up down this much. So I'm just going to bump it up. So again, you see me working with very low polygons just to kind of get the shape together. And once I have that, then I'm good to go. Now I got to figure out what to do with this part right here. And this part is kind of, over here like that. But what happens to it once it doesn't have balloons? So does it fold? Let's see if we can make it fold up. Like so. No, but maybe it folds down. That's even a better idea for it. So again, this is kind of more industrial design, what I'm doing, or more kind of concept design, which basically, this thing not symmetric. No, it's symmetric. Okay, so let's move this to the bottom. Yeah, so, this would be closed like this. And then it would open, and then the balloons will deploy. And the balloons will probably deploy from the back of the mech, like maybe around here. So there'll be like a big pouch over here and a big pouch over here. And when it deploys, the gas goes into it, or the whatever gets filled in it, gets into it, maybe some air and some other stuff. And then it lifts the mech up. Right, and the mech has to look good on its own, and here it actually doesn't look too bad. All right, I want this part to be even longer now, maybe in the front part. So again, just not that much, maybe about this much. Turn that and that off just so I can see, yep, that's exactly what I want. Okay, good. We're kind of getting to where we want to get to in the primary forms. And I'm trying to see like what other things I can add on the bottom. Looks like I could add some cables and stuff. I could do that later. I just bought a new cable program that I will be using. But I can do cables in ZBrush just fine too. I'll probably do that just because I know it. Okay, inflate this a little bit, get some more bulk on these arms, and once I'm happy with it, then I will have to kind of separate these out and work on them as separate pieces. So wow, again, no questions. You guys are really quiet today. What is going on? All right, the old man, okay, YouTube is fine. It is harvesting humans in these balloons. Oh, yeah, maybe it's like some, I don't know, though. I envision this thing as being really big. And, but now that you say that, that could be an interesting thing, too. Like, maybe this is one of those Matrix things that basically comes down and grabs humans and lifts them up. But no, I kind of would like to think of it as like maybe it's something that... yeah, I don't know. We'll have to build a good story around it. And as we're doing that, it's going to affect our design, which will be cool. All right, so let's go ahead and go to this top part. All right. How is your Noni. What's a noni? Well, how's your noni doing? Oh. All right. Noni. Maybe you said honey with my honey. That's what you probably said, not a noni. Okay. Your honey was so good, she's making you mistype. Okay. All right, so we got this going on. And I think we are good to go. If I would like to tell you about my background in art, what exactly do you want to know? Do you want to hear the stories of like how I used to draw when I was a kid, and I used to have a really strict art teacher. He was he never liked anybody's work. He used to come and tear everybody's work. He was really bad. So yeah, so yeah, I think you know, I mean, I always kind of liked drawing when I was a kid. And my dad was an architect, so he used to have a lot of really interesting things around, like those. I don't know if you guys know what kind of Rotring, I guess, was the name of the company. I think they're still around, but they had these pens, these drafting pens that were really interesting. He used to have those around the house, and I used to borrow them and use them. And also, another thing that I did a lot was I used to build plastic model kits that I enjoy doing, of airplanes and ships and all sorts of stuff, tanks. So a lot of my modeling comes from that as well. And I took art courses in school. I mean, we didn't really have, you know, I took everything I could in school, but I learned the fundamentals kind of on my own. I didn't really go to art school. I majored in computer science. But you know, I kept getting books, teaching myself the fundamentals, going and listening to people talk, taking some lessons here and there. I took some classes at Gnomon, which I'm teaching at now, and at Art Center, which I've taught at before, and also from artists online. Like I took Zach Petrock's class. He was really good. So yeah, it's an ever-evolving thing. I don't really think I'm at the end of where I need to be by any means. I don't think I ever will be. I think I will always be learning. And that's a good thing for me. And I always pick up stuff from other artists too. Like I was mentioning Marco before. So Marco's stream is really neat. And I picked up a workflow from him that I didn't do before. Like I used to be more about building stuff, but he does things sculpturally. And it's an interesting approach. And I'm definitely adopting some of the things that he shows, which is great. So I recommend you guys watch a lot of ZBrush artists. There's a lot of great ones, and they all have some interesting things that they do. And ZBrush is like a pencil, right? I mean, you know, you get artists doing amazing stuff with pencils, so you get a lot of amazing artists doing stuff in ZBrush, and everybody has their style, and everybody does things in a very specific way. And sometimes those things are not kind of along the lines of what you would like to do, and sometimes they will make what you do a lot easier and might have some interesting things to learn from them. So I highly recommend you guys go to ZBrush Live. I don't know if, here, let me bring it up. So if you go to ZBrush Live, wow, the writing recognition is really not all that yet. Okay, so if you go to ZBrush Live, the thing to do here is, let's wait for this to load. Okay, so you can go to presenters, and there is a lot of people that do streaming, and I'm here. So if you guys want to see my past stuff, you can always go back in time and see all my previous ones. So last season we did this astronaut, not this specific one, actually this one right here. And then the one before that we did this mech, and the one before that we did the spaceship, and the one before that we did a kind of a flying car, a spinner, which is this one right here. And so and then the first one we did a robot. So you guys can watch my stuff, but you can also go in and watch some of these other artists' work. And if you go to the Pixologic YouTube channel, you can kind of see what their work looks like. Maybe someday they'll categorize these, but right now they're really not under category. They're just under people's names. But if you go to, here, let me just jump to YouTube here. And go to Pixologic, and oh, there I am. So here, if you just go to videos, you can just go back in time, and usually there are thumbnails that tell you what people's work is like. So you can see here, you know, a little bit of an image. If you guys like character work, you can see character work. I think Brandon is doing a hard surface kind of medley thing. You can look at his stuff. Paul's streams are here as well. Here's another kind of hard surface looking thing if you guys want to do hard surface. Paul just did this TIE fighter. You can guys see that. So yeah, there's a lot of really great stuff here. And you know, you can glean little tips from all these guys and gals, and they do a great job streaming. You know, Pavlovich's streams are really useful. You can always pick stuff up from him. He knows what he's doing. He's been doing it for a while. Pablo Munoz Gomez has some really good stuff that he does too. So again, it's just a really nice wealth of artists to learn from. I wish I had this when I was a kid, right? When I was a kid, I didn't even have Bob Ross as a learning source. Okay. All right. So here I'm going to go ahead and separate these pieces out. So I'm just going to go in, since they're in the center here, I'm just going to go ahead and split and say split to parts. Always okay. So now I've got these as separate parts, and then I want to move this one up further. And maybe back to here. Right, and again, all I'm doing is getting this silhouette to work for me. That's what's got to happen first. Yeah, Ask ZBrush is great too. Ask ZBrush is a great thing to, and I use it all the time, to if you you know, if you don't know the answer to something in ZBrush, you can either go to Ask ZBrush and find it. And by the way, I should show you guys where that is too, because it's important. So if you go to here, if you go to presenters, if you just go up here, so there's presenters and there's Ask ZBrush. If you click on here, then it will just show you all the Ask ZBrushes. They're all here, right? And there's a ton of them. There's like 15 pages of Ask ZBrush stuff. So if you want to find out something, they're all probably here. And also if you go to the YouTube channel, and I think if you just enter here, search for hashtag Ask ZBrush, I think it will limit it to just those topics. And then of course you can limit it to what you're looking for. So let's say you were looking for ZModeler help. right? So now you can see here all the ZModeler Ask ZBrushes, right? So yeah, this is super, super useful. Okay. Working along here. How are we doing on time? Oh, wow. I might go a little bit later today since I didn't stream last time. I might go till maybe 9:30, so we have plenty of time. All right. Anybody else have any questions? If anybody's in Las Vegas, I think that's where, yeah, it's in Las Vegas, the NAB show. It's a good one to go to if you can go there. A lot of neat stuff happening at NAB. It's wild that all these things are starting up again. It's almost like our world is coming back to normal. All right, so we're still kind of working with this kind of silhouette business. And soon I'll be separating these out as well, but not yet. I'm still kind of getting these to look a certain way before I separate them out. And then I'll separate them out, and then I'll either use Kitbash parts for them, or I will actually model them, which I probably will model them more than I will use Kitbash parts for this specific one. Okay. So here what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to level this part out, and here's a nifty way of doing that just by using the gizmo and doing this, and then moving it back like so. Okay. So the legs are just going to move from here. And again, one of the things that I do when I'm designing these things is I actually imagine them working. And they need to function. Otherwise, I mean, sometimes stuff looks cool, and a lot of artists do really cool work. But I'm always like thinking about how that won't work. Like if they put it in a game, or they put it in a or if they actually make it like as a toy or a collectible or whatever, it has to work. Collisions are going to be important to think about at this point. All right. Okay, holding control of things was helpful too. Oh yeah, no kidding, right? What a great thing. So much more can be done with that capability. Like it would be cool to if you hold control over it, it gives you help, and then it would be cool if you could kind of launch and ask ZBrush about it, or if you need further help, like to have another thing available to you. It's funny, I worked at Microsoft when I first when I was in college, I worked at Microsoft and worked there a little bit long after I left college too. And it was interesting because right when I worked there, right when I started there, the whole idea was to create a unified user interface. And so all programs had the same user interface. At the time, like the two powerful programs were Lotus 1-2-3 and WordPerfect. And they both had their own menu system. And then when Windows became a thing, then File Open and all those things became more common. So that if you picked up one program, then you would know how to use a lot of other ones. And some of it is still true in Windows, but unfortunately, most programs nowadays are very different. Like even if you look at Adobe programs, like every Adobe program looks like it's been made by somebody else, which it has, right? And it's got its own way of working. Same thing with Autodesk products. Like, yeah, they do have some things that are in common, but 3ds Max is a completely different program than what Maya is, which is completely different than Alias, and completely different than all the other types of programs that they have. And it's the same company, right? But it's a different development team. That's why I kind of fought the ZBrush user interface at first, because I was stupid, is what I can attribute that to. Because at first I'm like, well, this user interface is kind of really tedious or whatever. But I've come to learn that the ZBrush user interface is one of the smartest interfaces ever made. It's just that people get frustrated with it because it's like nothing else that they've seen. But in my experience, artists that start with ZBrush do really well, but artists that start with other programs and come to ZBrush might have a little bit of a struggle. But over time, I mean, I've basically, I've customized ZBrush exactly the way I want it, so it works exactly the way I want to work. And I don't really think about the UI, I just think about the work I'm creating. Okay, you guys are really quiet today. I am shocked. There's 72 people that I see here. There's probably even more than that. And everybody is as quiet as a church mouse. Did Earth Day just take it all out of you guys? What's going on? That's kind of an interesting thing, but I don't want it to be too out. All right, that's good. I'm always looking at the silhouette over here and just making sure that the silhouette is compelling. And I'm going to probably have this be mirrored just because it's kind of in a bind pose kind of look. And I'll probably have it be lifting something up, like some sort of a machine or something up. It's getting late, yeah. Let's see. I saw on internet some plugins like for extract mesh, things like that. Yeah, there's a lot of plugins for ZBrush. Definitely a lot. I mean, if you look at my plugins menu, it's pretty busy. Right? I've got a lot of different plugins. I mean, the ones that come with ZBrush itself are really good, but you can also go get the ones from Pixelogic. Pixelogic's website. There's some really useful ones there too. And you can buy some too on ArtStation and Gumroad. So there's a healthy third party of plugins for ZBrush that make life easier for specific things. Generating the AI images, it's really not that hard. It's basically you need to get a Google account, you need to have a Google Drive account, and then you just have to go to Disco Diffusion is the name of the Google Colab app, and then you just type in different prompts, and then you press a button, and then it does its thing, and then it just comes back with an image or multiple images. It's pretty straightforward. Now the creativity is in the prompts that you put, of course. And also, I would kind of stay away from using a lot of other artists as inspiration. I mean, you can do that if you want to, but make sure you credit who they are. I tried a few with different artists, but at the end, I'm like, I'll just point it to my work. Well, how about just doing that? And that's what I did. Worked out really well. And I can completely, totally see like my stuff in what it generated. All right, I'm just going to move this up ahead like this. Yeah, you guys might be shocked at how much time I spend doing this stuff. But again, if it works like this, it will work with all the detail on it. Do I have my next project selected? You mean for the stream? Ginger 3D, or in just because I work on other projects when I in addition to this. So if I'm on a job, if I'm working on a freelance job, then I'm working on that project. And if I'm not on a freelance job, I always create projects for myself. And I think last time I showed the Catwoman I was working on. So that's kind of my latest project that I'm working on by myself. But as far as the stream is concerned, we're probably going to be working on this for a few weeks. I want to get it to a rendered stage to look a little bit more like this. Maybe create an environment around it as well. And I want to be able to recreate this setting, this image that I generated in AI, but generated in 3D. And this is kind of an interesting experiment that I want to do for myself, to be able to generate geometry and to be able to generate sculpts from AI. So AI would be kind of the main driver and reference in what I'm working on. Hopefully that answered that question. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, basically, after this one, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. It will definitely be a hard surface project. I don't think I'm going to do, figurative sculpting or anything like that. But I don't know what the subject is. I'll have to figure it out. But we got some ways to go on this still, so I don't have to worry about it. Was there something specifically that you wanted me to do? Like, is there something specific to, what you want to do? I'm definitely not going to be doing any stylized Disney characters. So that's out of the picture. I'm probably not going to do a superhero because there's enough people doing that. I'm working on a xenomorph as well as a personal project. But I've got like 4 or 5 things going at this time. Like I've got 5 projects, 6 projects that I have in my kind of cycling. I cycle through them. And I don't just work on one and just focus on one and work on one. I work on multiple projects at the same time. And then sometimes if one is going really well, then I just focus on that specific one for a while. Yeah. I mean, I've got finished projects already that are done, but I'll do other things with them. For example, I mean, here's a good example. Let's see if I, where is my, did I close that window? Please tell me I didn't. Nope. Is this it? Yep. Okay. So I'll just give you an example here. If we go to my website, so I made this mech right here. This was my first ZBrush only mech. So I made this mech, and then like years later, when the non-photorealistic renderer came out, I brought that mech in, made some modifications to it, and then rendered it like this. And then, so yeah, I mean, here's more renders of it. And I can always continue to work on this thing, right? And I'm intending on 3D printing it at some point when 3D printers get a little bit more user-friendly and less kind of messy. But yeah, so I did this, then I did the NPR rendering, and then I wanted a background for this guy, so I just brought the mechs in, popped 2 in the background here, and rendered the guy with the mechs in the background, right? So nice thing about 3D that's different than 2D for concept design is you can continually work on this stuff and modify it and use it in other things. So in a way, you're building a whole world with these things, and you can work on them. What is ZModeler most useful for? ZModeler is useful for a lot of things. ZModeler is like one of those miracle tools. I mean, you're saying like from all of these things over here, what's the most useful? I don't know, but it's useful for all of them. I'm in ZModeler quite a bit. And I used to use Maya a lot more than before ZModeler came out, but after ZModeler came out, I I use Maya less and less and less. I still use it. There's still a few things that I do in Maya, but for the most part, and sometimes even intentionally, I try to see if I can do it in ZBrush first and how painful it is. But usually it's not. ZModeler's done a lot. Even Retopo in ZModeler, the new extrude edge function, and we'll probably do a Retopo, at least one in this stream. You can see how it's so much better. If I'm still going to do heavy-duty retopology, I'll probably use quad drawing in Maya. And I've been playing around with the new Topo gun. It's in release candidate mode right now, so it's going to come out soon, I guess. So sometimes I go to Topo gun. Sometimes I do it in Maya. And there's a new Z-Rail thing in Maya that's pretty. It's a plugin that you can buy. That is a really interesting retopology tool. But yeah, I use ZModeler all the time. As a matter of fact, like my 1 key on my keyboard is ZModeler. When I hit my 1, that's my number 1 brush, and then 2 is the move brush. Between these two, you can do a lot of really great things. Yeah, let's see. Hopefully that answers that question. Again, I'm still trying to get this hull to look good. And notice I'm not really staying on one part. I'm jumping around just to get kind of a good basis for building this stuff out from. Okay, so time, we're doing great with time. Hey, Ian, hello. Oh, I'm out of this tea in this glass. Move on to the next one. All right. So this is kind of okay. So now let's go ahead and start working on this part right here some more. All right, so now I've got kind of a basic shape for this, and I think this is a good time to duplicate it again and pop the duplicate into the builders folder. So that, so I've got different versions of this. Like here's my previous one. Oh, let's let it do the quick save. See, this is the older version. Now it's moved on to this, and I am keeping a history of it in here just by duplicating it, just in case I need to go back. If I break something, then I have some sort of a older version to work from. Okay, so I'm liking this already. This is good. I think I'm just going to go ahead and accept it. So here under dynamic, I'm going to go ahead and apply this. So that's giving me 2 subdivision levels, I think. Oh, 4 subdivision levels. Okay, so this is kind of my starting point. And then I go all the way up to here. This is good. And now all I'm going to do is just add some edge loops just to... oh, yeah. I guess I can't do that yet. All right, that's fine. No, I guess I'm okay. So the only thing I kind of am worried about is I'm getting these are not perfectly square. You can see these polygons are not perfectly square. So I'm going to duplicate this one more time. And this is kind of an interesting thing to do. Right, I'm going to hide everything else and just have these 2 on. And then for this one, I'm going to go all the way down to level 1 here and delete the higher levels. And then do my adding of edge loops. I just want to get square shaped, or as square as possible shaped polygons. What do you mean it's not symmetrical? All right, let's just do mirror and weld. Oh, look at that. It was not symmetrical. How about that? I might not even need to reproject. I might be able to just subdivide this. Or, yeah, and get what I want. Right, so here I'm just basically going in and making sure that I get as close to square polygons as possible. And the reason why I'm doing that is because when I subdivide it, I don't get oblong polys. And it might be a little bit hard to do. Again, now ZModeler, it might be a little bit hard to do just because I'm going to change this from transpose to do nothing so I don't keep hitting it by mistake. Okay, here we go, here we go, here we go. Oops. There. So I'm kind of manually subdividing it, I guess, is what's going on right now, just to kind of get even polygons everywhere. And then see these, I don't want these kind of long looking polygons, so I'm going to try. And the problem is, if I don't have good edge loops, this is going to be adding extra polygons everywhere. So I might also try zero meshing this. You know, that's another option. We'll see how far I get, and if it's good enough, then we will leave it be. This one here, this one here, this one here, this one, oops, here like that. All right, and let's do a few here. Yeah, I think this will do it. Okay, so now if I go and subdivide this, and I'm going to do this, I think at this point I can apply smooth subdivision. Smooth divide, divide one more time. Then I get this, and let's see if I reproject what I get. So now I've got these two like that. And what I want to do is I want to take this one that I have and just project it on, project the other one onto it. So project, project all, and turn polyframe off. So now I've got 3 subdivision levels on this, and it looks okay. There's some funky stuff going on over here. I don't know why. Oh, I know why. I know exactly why. Because this one was not symmetrical. That's why, but I can fix that too. So this one on top, let me solo it, and let me delete its lower subdivision levels, and mirror and weld it. So now it is symmetrical, and now we should get exactly what we want. Okay, so go down here, project all, yep, there it is. Add one more subdivision level, project one more time, and now I've got 4 subdivision levels of this, but also look at how evenly the polygons are. So now I can start sculpting on it and get some good results. So here, now I can either do this with the Damien standard brush, or I can do it with painting. Let's do it with painting. Let's see how my detail is. So I'm going to fill this with white and then switch the colors. Have I seen the Halo show? Sean, yeah, I mean, I could see why you would struggle. Definitely, there's definitely a learning curve, but you'll get there. Have I seen the Halo show? I have not seen the Halo show. It's on my list of stuff to watch. I haven't gotten to it yet, but is it bad? Really? That's too bad. Man, they tried to do that thing so many times. Like, you'd think by now they have it made. I have a friend of mine who worked on that as a concept designer. He's really good too. How are the designs? I mean, obviously a lot of the stuff's already baked because of the game. But I hear the CG kind of looks bad sometimes. So I don't know. But I'll definitely give it a watch. I've played Halo quite a bit. It's one of my favorite franchises. wonder if it will get to a point where they'll start making movies that are movies of game properties that are as good as the superhero movies are. I guess Sonic, not that it's my thing, but I guess Sonic did well. I guess people like that movie. I mean, if it's on cable, I'll see it, but I won't go watch it. It's not my thing. So all that work I didn't really like. So again, instead of doing that with, sometimes what I do is I store a morph target. I guess I could do that now too. And I'll show you the other way. There's different ways I do what I just did. So another thing I do is I go in with Damien Standard and I start, drawing things out this way. So here I'm sketching. So before I do that, I know I stored a morph target, but I also want to create a duplicate of this just in case. Okay, and then we can hide these two. We can bring everything back so I can see the rest of everything. Okay, we don't want to see these either. And I want to hide the balloons. And I want to switch colors to white. Okay, so now I have this underneath, and so now I'm just basically sculpting with Damien Standard brush and just figuring out like different. So there would be some part here that would be, there for holding these arms into place. Right, so I'm just basically doing that. I'm just basically doing some kind of really random sketching on the surface to figure some good kind of ways of dividing it up. Let's see, any questions? No. Looks like everybody had a wild ass week. You all are tired, not asking questions. All right, so here again, just very kind of simple drawings. If I like something, it's great. If I don't like it, I'll erase it. Another way of erasing it is by using the morph brush, but right now it's okay. And then maybe, does this look good? So I'm just kind of establishing some cut lines for this. And again, I probably will not use this. I'll probably be throwing this away, but it is giving me some ideas of what to do. Or I could use this kind of as an under part to do the rest of the things I want to do. And here I want to use one of these new fillet brushes. To get a nice fillet like this. And again, I don't really want a lot of detail, but it just helps to get these kinds of things. Do I know how to create a curvature map? Let's use this vertex paint or poly paint. Well, I don't know if you can create one in ZBrush, but I know that you can, if you have UVs, in Keyshot, you can use there is a node that you can use for, doing stuff in curvature, for curvature type of operations. And also, if you load it into Substance Painter, so if you load your model into Substance Painter, so if you have kind of a base level, a 3D model, and then you have the detail model, and you load those into Substance Painter as a normal map and a kind of a base starting model. If you do that, then you can generate a curvature map in there too. And that's how I do it. I use Substance Painter. But if I'm in Keyshot, I use the Keyshot stuff too. So I could use both. All right, so let's see if these details are coming out okay. Yeah, they're not bad. Again, the hero shot is looking at it from this angle, so this is kind of what I need to evaluate it at. And we might have a closer look at this. Yeah, if you can just use polypaint. I mean, you know, if you generate UVs on your object and you use polypaint, you can always generate a UV map or a texture from that polypaint. I think I've done that in my stream somewhere at some point. I know I've taught it in my classes like a million times. But yeah, you can do it that way too. I guess if I turn occlusion on, it'll help kind of bring these lines out a bit. All right, so that's looking okay. And so now I got to think about like, well, where do the people come in from? And I'm assuming this is something really kind of modern. So I'm assuming maybe the people get in. I don't know. Where do the people get into this thing? Maybe have, well, actually, the thing to do is let's bring a person in first. So I think I've got I think in this, yeah, over here I had a guy. Let's bring this guy in. Copy. Paste. Whoa. And let's kind of figure out how big somebody could be. So I figure somebody's sitting down in here, so maybe about that big. That's too small. Let's turn transparency on and turn ghost off. So here's the guy. I think that's too small. Maybe about that big. That seems about right. All right, so let's center this guy in the world and bring him up and stand him on top of the mech. I always like to do this just so I know the scale. Turn transparency off. Okay, so now I kind of get an idea of how big the guy is. So I have to figure out of some sort of a door that they can get in from. And let's see. I like that this whole top part opens, and maybe that's how they do it. So this whole top part here opens. You know, like a hood of some sort. Like that maybe. And then this part opens up, and then yeah, this whole part could open up. Yeah, I think that's kind of the better thing to do. So this thing will probably kind of lay down, and then they get up somehow and get in here. Okay. I don't need the guy anymore. I'm going to hide him and then continue to work. So I'm assuming that maybe this is the door right here. No. Yeah, I don't know. Since it's not military, like it doesn't have to be protected. It could be pretty exposed. Okay. And again, notice I'm not being very precious with this. I'm being very loose with the lines that I'm drawing. basically just sketching on a 3D object just to get the shapes that I want. And let me do solo on this. And kind of like the idea of this doing something like that. Over here, and this is the housing for the arms. Let's do a quick outline of that. So I kind of know where the arms are coming in. And then here's an outline for this one. And yeah, so this is kind of done. I think the bottom part's connecting to the bottom part there, and this top part is connecting to here. So we're all good. Okay, so let's hide all this stuff again and go to solo mode. So this top part over here is all going to be some sort of a housing that houses that arm. I'm just painting this just to kind of remember. And then let me pick another color. And this part right here is the other arm. So I don't really need to work inside of these areas because nobody's going to see them. And yeah, so we're looking pretty decent here with kind of some ideas of what to work on this hull part. And this is probably where I will spend a lot of time because, again, if somebody gets up close, I kind of want some details on here, and we'll do that in a little bit. But here, let's jump to some other part. And you can see me jumping around different parts, and that's kind of important because if you work on one area, then it could be that it doesn't work with the rest of everything else. So it's always good to work on your entire model all the time instead of just working on one part. Let's see. What's the shortcut key for solo mode? I don't think well, it says here quick click on a document. So if I do this, you know, it might work. It's not working for me. Maybe I don't have it on, but I think you can assign a key to it. You can assign a hotkey for solo mode if you want. I don't think it's something I use that much, so I don't mind jumping over to here to get it. Part of my UI also is the reason why it is the way it is because I also teach. So I try to leave as many things on the actual UI itself as possible. Okay, and here I'm going to use the morph brush to bring some of these details back. Where are you? Where are you? Here you are. Okay. Switch back to Damien Standard. I kind of liked this bit of detailing on here. There is so I don't know specifically what your question is, but so if you've stored a morph target, you can the only way to, if you go to the morph brush, then you're basically, wherever you touch, it's going to turn back into the way it was before. But if you want to also, you can also use the morph menu, right? The morph target menu, which is down here somewhere. Where are you? You can use this to kind of go back and forth between your, not this one, to go back and forth between your original state and the state that it's in, or even go further, like you can push whatever you're doing even further. So this would be kind of the preview, just kind of do the slider. All right, hopefully that answers that question. How are we doing on time? So we're at 9. I'm going to go for another half an hour. I'm going to go till 9:30. So get to spend a little bit more time with you guys and gals. All right, so this is looking good so far. I'm just getting some good kind of ideas of how this thing is divided. And again, all these details I will do a lot nicer and cleaner. But here I'm just being quick and dirty about how I'm doing all this stuff, just because I want to just get an idea of the sketch of what I'm working on. Okay. Yeah, let me, now that you mentioned the solo mode thing, I'm kind of curious as to whether there is a, whether there is a setting in under preferences for the quick click. Let's see. Custom UI now. Is it under interface? I am on viewer, click distance, use sticky keys. No, it's not there. Navigation. No. No. I don't know. Let's try quick click in document. Yeah, I don't know. It's not working for me because maybe there's a setting to turn it off. Maybe I've done something else to turn it off. Or maybe you need to be on let's see if it works in gizmo mode. Nope. No. Interesting question. Now I'm intrigued. Yeah, I have a feeling it's somewhere in here. I don't think there's a solo mode option. Cam view, screensaver, quick save, undo history. Where would you be? Tablet maybe? No. Yeah, I don't know. It's something I will definitely look into because now I have to find out. There's no other way. But I won't do it on camera. Whoa, what's going on here now? All right, I think this front part is looking okay, and I'm liking how this is working. Have I worked on movies and TV shows? I have worked on I haven't worked on a movie that's been out, but I have worked on movies that haven't come out. Unfortunately. And TV shows, no, I haven't worked on TV shows either. I've worked on commercials, which are on TV, but not TV shows. Not yet, but I will. Okay, again, I'm just basically getting my secondary forms here. thing about working on movies and TV shows, and I should talk about this. A lot of times, when artists say I've worked on a TV show or a game or whatever, you have to understand that there are a lot of people that work on the shows at the same time. I mean, just go to the end of a movie and you can see like the scrolling of like hundreds of names in special effects of people that are working on it. So everybody works on a little bit of it, and then there's a bunch of people that say this works and this doesn't work. So there's a bunch of people that critique and change things until it's done. So there's a lot of people that work on movies. Most of my stuff that's on my website is just me. So all the stuff here, all of this is just me, just my work, right? So I do it all. I do the design, I do the modeling, I do the rendering, I do the color correction, I do it all, which is great. But then, you go to another artist, and I'll just randomly go to ArtStation here. And I'm sure there'll be some title somewhere. Let's see. There's some stuff from Arena. All right, Call of Duty shotgun, right? Like this thing right here. So this guy from Sledgehammer Games says that he did the whole thing, and maybe he did. Maybe he did do the whole thing, but maybe somebody modeled it, somebody textured it, etc., etc. Or maybe he did this render and somebody purposed it for the game. So, there's a lot of people that work on games and movies, like hundreds of people, and part of me likes that. Part of me likes being part of the team. But for my personal projects, I kind of like to have the freedom to do what I want. And honestly, I think, with smaller projects, smaller movies or whatever, where it's one person doing a lot of the work from a concept perspective, that's great results. Like if you look at, if you look at Blade Runner, for example, most of the designs were done by Sid Mead. He did the cars and the mood and everything like that. So you can definitely tell that his work is very instrumental in that movie. And then there have been hundreds of movies that have tried to copy that same exact thing. Most very unsuccessfully. But he was lucky enough to be the only person. But nowadays, you get something like that, you probably have 20 people working on it. So all the movies that have great concept designs usually have 2 or 3 amazing concept design artists. And I'm just waiting for an opportunity where I can do that on a good sci-fi project. Still hasn't come my way yet, but you never know. Somebody somewhere is going to see my work and go, yep, this is what we want. Another good one is Giger, right? Like in Alien, his Alien looks amazing, right? And there's so many people trying to do the same thing. Most unsuccessful. But he was the only designer that did that. He did Alien, he did the mood. Like all the reason why Alien succeeds where other horror movies, space horror movies in the past failed, is before they had these like suction cup arms and all these crazy kind of looking robots and aliens. But then you get a genius like Giger, and he just comes up with a really cool design, which spawns so many movies and so many variants and so many this, that, and the other, but it's just his kind of design that did it all. So that's kind of my thing, is I like working with teams, but I also like to be given certain freedoms and hope to work with a director that can recognize that and lets me do my thing. In Ginger 3D, you're asking me what I like to model. I like to model, I think my favorite thing is mechs. Right now I'm doing something that I really like. I really enjoy making these machines. But I like making spaceships. I like making robots. I like making all those things. And I do like hard surface more than organic. But I enjoy organic as well. I think on my Instagram, I'll show that real quick. Like I really felt rusty doing organic stuff. So one afternoon I sat around and did this sculpt right here, which is more organic than hard surface, right? I mean, he's got a hard surface helmet, but his face is very non-organic. So I do, and this is kind of less hard surface and more organic. So sometimes I do organic stuff. It's fun. But I mostly enjoy doing hard surface and futuristic. All right, so now I'm getting this thing, from being a very kind of simple model to having a little bit more detail. And I'm getting some ideas of what I want this to look like. And adding some detail here, focusing more on secondary forms. And yeah, it's coming along. I am liking what I'm seeing, for sure. Let's get the Morph Target brush here and fix this part. And let's see, how heavy is this part? It's 69,000 polys. It's nothing. So I'm able to get some of the detail that I want. That's working well. Okay, good. All right, so that's enough work on the hull. Let's move on to these top arms. I think these top. Here. These top arms, I think I'm going to start separating them out. So let me go over here and. Now the problem with this one is that it's going to be a bit of a challenge to separate out, but not a big deal. Here, let me choose, select rectangle, select this, Shift A, and then split hidden. Where are you? Yep. And so now these are all one part, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. All right, so now I basically have these two top parts as separate parts, which is what I wanted, and now I'll start working on those. So here, again, this thing is a very, very simple kind of model. So let's add a dynamic subdiv on it. And again, I don't want it to be this mushy, so let's fix that by adding some flat subdivisions, and that's not good enough. Maybe 1, 2 this way. All right, this is looking better. And I just need to get these to be more planar. Right, I just want to get this piece to look like it's just a hard surface piece that comes out. Yeah, no, I enjoy all these things that you mentioned, all of them. Unfortunately, I don't get to do much of it for work. For work, most of the stuff I do is, regular stuff. I do a lot of cars. I do a lot of stupid things like coffee makers and sometimes I work on cool robots and vehicles. I did a really cool robot for Toyota. I modeled their robot was just CAD. I modeled it in 3D so they could have it in an advertisement. That was fun. Yeah, so sometimes I get to work on what I like, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I have to work on stuff I don't like, but you know. That's how it goes. Okay, this looks good. Let's apply it. Now I've got this as geometry, right? And let's look at it. Okay. Before I did that application, I'm going to turn dynamic off, and I'm going to do the same thing I did before, where I'm going to insert some edge loops here to make these more square shaped. So when I subdivide, I get more evenly divided polygons. And this is, you know, kind of a tricky thing to do, but it really helps. And it's not going to be all square polygons. I mean, you are going to get some rectangular shapes, but it's going to be a lot better than just subdividing it. And here I'm doing whatever I can not to get you know, I'm trying to keep the shape as is. All right, here we go. And yeah, I think that's good enough. So let's apply this. And let's start sculpting on it. All right. It depends on the client. It depends on the project. You know, a lot of times I get called in pretty late, and usually, you know, shit's already hit the fan, and so I have to come in and clean up after what has happened. So in that case, yeah, they do need stuff pretty quickly. Sometimes they don't. It depends. I wish there was more a standard way of doing that, but every company does it a different way. And they all want you to get done as soon as possible because they're paying you by the hour or by the day or whatever. But some of them understand certain things take more time. And sometimes they have a budget. They're like, well, we only have this much to spend on this, so get it done in this time. Get as good as you can in this one time frame. Which is kind of tough because you always, in situations like that, you always end up working more hours than you're charging them for, which kind of sucks. But that's the way it goes. Because if that's their budget, that's their budget. They're not going to have more money. On rare occasions, you can renegotiate, but most of the time, I have not been successful. And sometimes they have internal people, like people who work at the companies that I freelance with, and their entire job is to, you know, basically get things from people that have already, you know, that have done the maximum that they can in that time period, and then fix them further. And all these people look like, you know, really tired, but they have a full-time job. It depends. I mean, you know, I've worked for so many companies that, and I have to say that none of them work the same way. All of them have their own quirks. All of them have their weird workflows, and the hard thing about this doing freelance work is that you have maybe a day, and that's if you're lucky, to kind of figure out their workflow and their the way they organize their work, the way they do all that stuff. That's the reason why a lot of these companies go out of business, is because it's they have very crazy ways of working. And personally, I don't know how they call themselves businesses, some of these companies. But you always hear about it. You always hear about, like, this company went under, that company went under, this company's closing their doors, this company can't make it work. A lot of people in this industry also get burned out, which is unfortunate. I've seen some amazing artists just say, I don't want to do this anymore. Just because, they just are like, having to deal with a lot of problems that could get old. But that said, I've also worked with some amazing clients, some really great people. That's the best part of the job, is that every once in a while you work with a great team. You know what else is weird while we're talking about this topic, which I find really kind of disturbing personally, is that, there's an artist, right? And they're like me, they post a lot of their personal stuff, and their personal stuff is cool. And then they start working on movies and whatnot, and then you never hear from them again. They don't post anything. And they're amazing artists. I mean, they do amazing work, but they don't do any personal work anymore. So whatever they're doing at their work is so demanding, or so kind of soul crushing, I guess, that they don't do their own personal work. And I always feel really bad for those artists. Like, I wish that they still posted their personal work and they still did their own thing, but they don't. Because probably by the time they're done working on whatever project they're working on, they don't want to do anything else. All right, let's let this quick save. How are we doing on time? Okay, it looks like we got about, I don't know, I'll stay a bit longer. There are a lot of clients that I work for that need stuff ASAP. There are some clients that are like, can you do it tomorrow? I think part of what makes an artist a good artist, or freelance artist a good freelance artist, is just knowing what you can and cannot do. Like, you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, for sure. I've seen that too. I've seen some people make some promises that they can't deliver on, and I know they can't do it. So I just, step aside. There's only so many hours in the day, and there's so much work to be done. So, yeah. Oh, wow. 100 messages today with Restream Chat. Great. Thank you. I don't know what that gets me. I guess I get that trophy, which I can't do anything with. All right, folks, what do you guys think? Think this thing is looking okay? We did quite a bit of work on this. We got the balloons done. We're starting to get these parts to work here. So I'm assuming that the way these work is there's like some sort of a mechanism on the inside that controls them. So let's move on to this part. So basically what I'm going to be doing is, I'm just going to be doing exactly this with all these parts that I did. So just kind of get some sort of a shape together, and then we'll get those into detail. And I'm going to move pretty fast with this. I don't know if I'm going to take the full 8 weeks to do it. I'm going to try and get it done a lot faster, just because I don't really have to do a lot of the stuff that I was doing with some of the other parts or other projects that I had. So I'm going to get this done a little bit faster if I can. All right, let's get this. So and you can see here I'm just kind of manipulating that really small or really kind of low poly model here, this mesh, and just getting some sort of semblance. And again, this doesn't have to work 100% because I'm not going to make it into a toy that articulates or anything like that. It's just going to be for an image. So it has to be believable to a certain point, but I have a lot more freedom in this than I did with some of the previous things that I've done, where I've really kind of spent the time to make sure that that the parts work and they articulate correctly. Here, they will articulate correctly within a certain level of suspension of disbelief, but not, to the level of detail that I had before. Okay, that's looking good. Okay, so let me see this by itself and see what it looks like. Okay, this here looks pretty horrible. Let's fix that. See what that did. Okay, so that did not work too well. I do need to move it back, but maybe move it back down here like that. My cat is doing great. What I did today is I fed her before I did the stream. So she's probably had a bunch of food in her belly and she's sleeping it off. It's probably what's happening. But yeah, I'm surprised she hasn't shown up either. It's been a while too. She's very excited nowadays because spring is here and she hears all the birds and watches all the goings on in the outside world. All right, let's add a couple of flat subdivisions to this. That's good. And before I do that though, let me again make these as square as possible. Definitely not what I want. One here, one here, one here. That takes care of that. Maybe one more here. All right, that's good. And then here it's got this weird convex thing that it's doing. Let me see if I can straighten it out a little bit. Okay, that's good enough. So let's apply that. And now we've got this as a mesh we can sculpt on. Search and rescue guys call it the tick. Well, I don't know. The tick is kind of a little bit more destructive. Speaking of which, I did have a project once that I had to model a tick for somebody. But that was in Maya. This was before ZBrush. Now, I might be destroying some of the hard surfaceness of this because it's got a lot of points. I should be doing this work that I'm doing right now in a lower subdivision level, but I can always go down to lower subdivision level, fix it, and come back up. Okay, I don't want to see this. I just want to see. Right. I don't know if I want to add this. I think maybe I want it to be flat like that. What's really interesting is that a lot of mechs kind of start looking insect-like sometimes. So this could be very much, and I probably should be looking at some insect legs for reference to do this part, but this is working. Okay. All right, that's good. Let's move to the rest of the arm here. Okay, and split hidden. All right, and then with this, just take off that sharp point. And yeah. Okay, those go there, those go there, maybe like that. All right. Strawberry King, you've been, thanks for coming back to these streams. I really appreciate it when people come back. It gives it a level of continuity. So not only are you coming back, but you also remember my cat. That's awesome. All right, so I'm just matching these to the one and before it. Okay, that's looking good. And I just want to make sure that there's nothing obnoxious in the front. There it is. Okay, let's just make this as flat as possible for now. Okay, so this is done. Let's look at what it looks like. Add some edge loops here. And by the way, I can always turn this to multiple edge loops and interactive resolution. This, ooh, and not do elevation. And it still is doing it. No, specific elevation of 0. How about that? Here we go. And then add maybe this many edge loops this way, and then that's good. That's good. So this is what I did before, just faster. And done. See, so I did all this in a lot faster than I did that before, and then go to dynamic, which is good. Apply, and I think that's one is done as well. I might need to just hit it with H-polish a little bit. And there is this kind of line continuing down this way, so that's still working. That's good, that's good, that's good. And that part is done. And moving down further on the arm, let's pick this piece. All right. Now this piece is going to be interesting because it looks like it's got a hinge over here. So I might move it forward a little bit and down. I should have done that with the other parts, but that's okay. All right, so I have to figure out how to put a hinge in here. All right, no questions. I guess you guys are getting more tired than I am. I'm starting to get tired. What are we doing on time? 36. I'll go for another 9 minutes, and then I'll call it a night. So I will be on again next month. I'm glad this is working and the lag is not an issue. That's a huge relief for me, a huge relief. Believe me, otherwise we would have had to probably not stream in May. So now I can continue to stream in May. All right. No worries. Hey, Bad Cat, thank you very much. That's very nice of you. All right, this comes here like that. We're almost kind of done with today. And I will maybe do some of this type of work that I'm doing here because it's a bit repetitive. I'll try to do some of it off camera, but it's going to be the same stuff. The other thing I'm also considering doing is starting a Twitch stream. And I'll probably be doing that. Now that this is working, I'll probably be doing that as well. And maybe doing another night or two a month. And that's just going to be on my own channel. Just so, you know, it's kind of, it'll have some different things to it. And it'll be similar kinds of things. I won't be working on these projects. So I will definitely have the ZBrush live streams be focused on the same thing. So I'll only be working on this model in the ZBrush live stream, but I'll be working maybe on something else in my own stream. Maybe I'll be working on other things, maybe the Catwoman. I don't know, one of the different things. Well, I'm really liking how this is looking over here. I think it looks pretty good. I might add a bevel to this edge. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do that right now that I'm thinking about it. I'm going to use this bevel flat, solo this out, mask. All this. There we go. I'm trying to get one that'll do the whole thing. Let's see if this one does it. Nope. I think it's good for now. Yep. So that looks a lot better, and I probably need to do the same thing on the bottom part. So let me try and do it without masking. These brushes are so cool. The bevel and the and I don't really need to do much details inside of these things. I'll probably put some stuff in here just to kind of but look at how cool that started looking. This part looks much better now. I want to also try something here with this. What if it's thinner? I think that's kind of cool. All right, that means I have to adjust these ones too. All right, that goes there. Okay, let's drop this down all the way to the lowest subdivision level so it doesn't. There we go. Okay. This is something I should have done before, so you guys can see how if you want to make a design change later, once you start adding the subdivision levels, it becomes more difficult to get it to work, but not impossible. All right, yeah, I kind of like this lower profile of it more rather than, well, let's see. Let's take both of these back to the way they were before, just for kicks. No, they look okay like this. I think I'm going to leave them like that. Another really cool thing with ZBrush is you can kind of make decisions and then go back and forth. You've got this timeline. And I don't know if you guys watched it, but there's this artist that does animations with this timeline. So he basically sculpts a face coming out of a box or something like that. And he uses the undo stack as a way to animate it, which is pretty amazing. I mean, for a couple of reasons. One is because he's basically not allowing himself to do undos. But also because he's kind of figured out how to use something like that for that reason. Well, I don't know if this is going to work. I think I'm going to do it with edge polish. All right, let's see. All right, we're getting close to time. If you guys have any questions, now would be a good time to ask. And otherwise, I will see you again later on. I don't have my schedule yet for next month, but I will have it will be posted on ZBrush Live. So a good way to kind of know when I'm doing my streams, if you guys want to come back, is if you just go to here under ZBrush Live, go to calendar, and under calendar you will see, Stephen is doing his tomorrow, Paul's doing an NAB demonstration on Sunday, he's doing another one on Sunday, then Pablo does Monday, and Tomas and Anna Carolina, Ashley, Daisuke. Okay, so I'm not on here yet, but I will be probably next week. You can see when my next one is. I usually do Fridays from 7 to 9, and so that's probably when it's going to be. And definitely, it could be next Friday. I might do it off. So here I'm just basically establishing something that looks good silhouette-wise this way, and this looks pretty good. And then I don't know if this one is going to be what it is. I might just do this to it, and I think that's good. Okay, folks. Well, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. There's quite a few of you on here, and you stuck around. So that means the streaming is working, which is awesome. Makes my day, makes my week, makes my month. And other than that, I will see you all in 2 weeks. Have a great 2 weeks. Happy ZBrushing, and peace.